Shalom, 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 shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakwadash. Let me check the sound. Yahweh, Laratazawan, Amaria, Paya, Wahagayawan, Labia, Lapunika, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakwadash, Tazawarya, Waga'alya. All right. The ancient name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh. The ancient name of the only begotten Son. It was given to Mary and Joseph, or Mariam and Yahweh. Yahweh Shai is the real name of the Savior and Deliverer, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. It's Yahweh Shai HaMashiach in ancient Hebrew, and double honors to our elders and apostles that came back in the reincarnation known as Great Millstone. All the bishops, deacons, and teachers. What you heard me say in Hebrew, was, okay, Psalms 19 and 14, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. Yahweh, Laratazawan, Amaria, Paya, Wahagayawan, Labia, Lapunika, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Tazawarya, Waga'alya. Just a quick prayer, just to set the tone. This is just a video, one of the reoccurring videos that we do, because we staying on the topic and we're not switching up the doctrine of what the MOTB is. And there's a good site called biometricupdate.com, and I always go on here every day or every other day. It doesn't go more than a day or two that I'm not looking at this website to see what's going on. And today, January 7th, 2026, they had this article up there, and it said, I saw Kentucky. So I said, okay, let me see what it says. It said, with Kentucky mobile ID, IDEMIA adds 19th state to list of MDL activations. Now, I didn't look up the name of this because it does look like a lot like IDEMIA. Let me just type in IDEMIA. I wanted to know what this means. But let me just read this again. With Kentucky mobile ID, IDEMIA adds 19th state to list of MDL activation, of which this is motor driver's license. All right, so the DMV touts uses cases for age assurance, identity verification, and travel. Let's read a little bit of this. Let me get some scriptures. Because what we're witnessing is the gradualism of the implementation of the mark of the beast, the MOTB. That's the one direction we're headed in. That's why we have a lot of countries, they're going full-blown use of digital IDs. But in the U.S., it's still very gradual. All right, it's not like how it is in the EU, certain EU nations, where they're trying to basically give digital IDs to babies as soon as they're born. So we're not at that level here in the U.S. But it says, let me just see this meaning. Idumea, also spelled Idumea, refers to historical region inhabited by Edomites, descendants of Esau, Edom. The term Idumea does not have a recognized meaning in this context and may be a misspelling or confusion of Idumea. Yes, it was just interesting that they would name this. It looks like IDEMIA, this company that Kentucky was with. All right, it adds 19th states. So Kentucky's just one of 19 states that has a mobile driver's license right now. So let me just jump down here. Yeah, here these two paragraphs here. I'll read them. It says, in a release, IDEMIA Public Security North America says that its partnership with the Kentucky Department of Motor Vehicles enables Kentucky residents to prove their identity and age with digital ID by downloading the DMV's free app and using biometrics or a PIN for authentication. State residents can use the app immediately to verify their identities directly from their mobile phones at TSA checkpoints, at CVG, SDF, LEX, PAH, in addition to other, maybe these are Kentucky airports. I know LEX, it looks like Lexington maybe, in addition to another participating airports across the country. Everything's in your phone. Now your ID can be too, says Kentucky Transportation Cabinet Secretary Jim Gray. A digital ID serves as an addition to physical ID, allowing Kentuckians convenience when proving their identity. So right now it's out of a convenience. All right. Now there's a part on here. I think that says voluntarily, but one of the biggest benefits is letting cardholders limits showing only necessary personal information during a transaction or service, like withholding your address when providing your age to buy restricted items. While users must download the DMV app for now, there are plans to phase in support for major wallet providers such as Apple, Samsung, and Google. As always, residents are advised that the mobile ID is not a replacement for physical ID and that they should still carry ID documents. So we're in this is gradually being phased in. It says IDUMIA now provides MLDs for 19 states as well as Puerto Rico. So eventually, your ID is going to be tied to what? Your wallet, which a lot of people use Apple Wallet, Samsung, or Google. Or if you have an iPhone, you basically just tap your phone and you can choose between which card you want. So your ID is going to be linked to that, which means they'll be able to track your trend, your trends. So if they see a lot of people are buying certain things in a certain market, they can up the price to make money off it. A lot of this, of course, elites going to be making money off of it, but it's mainly for domination and power. All right, that's what the beast wants to do. That's why he wants to issue his mark. Let me bring the scripture in real quick that I have. This is Psalms 64 and verse 2. It says, "Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity." And NLT, it says, "Hide me from the plots of this evil mob, from this gang of wrongdoers." I mean, I went to chat because right now this doesn't seem wrong. It doesn't seem evil. It's out of convenience. It's voluntary. It's not being mandated just yet. But eventually, when it's tied to your body, all right, and they actually will force to mandate this chip inside of you, people are going to be questioning it, especially people who know what the MOTB is, the mark of the beast. There's going to be some form of resistance. Now, I asked chat. I went to chat and I asked it how easy would it be to move from a digital ID system to it being tied to your bank account, and then a step further to develop a biometric chip like Neuralink to make payments and proof identity. Show an itemized list of how this could happen gradually and what could trigger it and what could quickly trigger it. So number one, the starting point, the digital ID systems would exist right now. So right now we have government issued digital IDs. You got your MDLs, mobile driver's license. So when it does start becoming mandated, just like you see in Europe, it's going to start with government workers. All right, it's going to, like it says here, private sector identity providers. All right, this is how it's gradually going to happen. Like we saw in that article, Apple ID, Google identity type logins. All right, when it does get phased out and released to the public on a larger scale, because further on in this conversation, I asked also AI what banks are actively seeking to basically move from digital ID verifications to link it with biometric payments. And JP Morgan actually, this is going back a year ago, fires up a biometric payment processing. So they're kind of leading the way with it. And one of their franchises that they've been using is Whataburger, which I'll read some of this in a minute. Let me just keep going here. Two, I'm not going to read all of chat, but some of this you can see on here what it's saying. Why it's easy, mostly software based. You can use your smartphone already. It's framed as convenience plus fraud prevention. All right. That's why they're always asking you to acknowledge what new policies and new acknowledge, what you call just like when they had the VAX verification on your phone. They can easily add this software onto it and update it, and you'll have to comply, or what? Your device or your phone will be lagged, or eventually it won't work. That's how it's going to be tied to your bank account. So banks require digital ID verification. Number two, linking digital ID to financial accounts. All right, so it'll be, again, everything that you use. PayPal, people are going to start seeing it. All right, and before you know it, in one way or another, it's going to lead to an actual chip, because a lot of people are leaning on the society already. Let's get that nice Isaiah 36. I'll hold that on deck. And this is all, that's why I said one prophetic direction. All right. We're heading in one prophetic direction. Number 3, it says unified. Well, let me read through here. It says banks already, why this step is easy. All right. Government benefits paid via verified digital accounts. Banks already must verify your identity, of course. APIs already connect identity services to financial institutions. So let's look up what APIs are. All right. Because they're saying that these already, all right, connect services to your financial institutions. So let's do this. What are APIs? APIs, or application programming interfaces, are sets of rules that allow different software applications to communicate and share data with each other. All right, so it's just a stream of information going before to software applications. All right, that enable developers to use existing functions and services from other apps, and it simplifies the process of software management. So when we come back here, next it says anti-money laundering, and what changes your ID becomes the key to accessing your money. All right, losing access to ID equals losing the access to financial services, and that's true. You go into a bank and you try to say, I'm such and such, I need my money. They're not going to know it unless you give them a social, all right? But then anybody can know your social. They want more than that. Sometimes some banks require your signature to look the same as it was before. That's why you can go through all these different verifications online with solve this puzzle and do that to prove this and that. Well, it's the same thing when you're going to go into a bank. That all starts with your ID. All right, it's a small step. So just because people, you may see this video and you don't believe it's the RFID chip is the MOTB. Well, you're saying, oh, it's just a mobile driver's license. Yeah, this is just a beginning stage of it. All right, the end is not yet. The end is yet by and by. All right, we still have some things to go through, because that's why I asked what could trigger this. Let's read down quickly here. It says unified digital wallet, ID plus payments plus credentials, the everything app. All right. What gets bundled? Your government ID, your bank accounts, your health records, your licenses, your travel credentials. That's why the mobile ID allows you to do a lot of things, a lot of these already. Like, all right, license certificates, permits, and you can use it at your TSA. So why governments and companies like it? Because they're the ones, remember, the technocrats, all right, the technocrats, those who Trump put into place. What are technocrats? And when Trump elected officials to rule, these are all people that are into, individuals who hold governmental authority due to their specialized technical expertise in the fields such as science, engineering, or economics, all right, which they're going to be tying in the science with economics, all right, and it's going to be socially engineered. They are often appointed to make decisions based on data and objective methodologies rather than being elected through popular vote, which distinguishes them from traditional politicians, right? So again, if your ID is slowly becomes attached to the way that you pay for things, well, now they can track that. That's data. That's what the beast wants. It wants domination and full compliance. See, it says lower administrative costs, faster verification, reduce fraud, better compliance tracking. Why users accept it? Faster logins, fewer passwords, less paperwork. One app does it all. Eventually, one facial scan is going to be doing it all. One retina scan or one wave of your hand if it's already in you. All right, it says key shift, identity and payments are no longer just linked. They are co-located, meaning they're unified. That's why I named this a one prophetic direction. All right. 4, it says biometric authentication becomes default. All right, which is already common. Fingerprint, like I said, face recognition, voice authentication. Why this step happens easily, is seen as more secure than passwords. It reduces fraud and account takeovers already embedded and phone. So this is all that convenience. That's why the scripture says he causeth all. Critical distinction, biometrics are used to unlock identity, not yet embedded in the body permanently. Now let me read this. This is Isaiah 36:6. It says, Lo, thou trusteth in the staff of this broken reed on Egypt. And this is the spiritual Egypt. Read that in Revelation 11:8. This place called spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. I mean, you have a Memphis, Tennessee, and the Memphis in Egypt is located on the Nile River, and the Memphis in Tennessee is located on the Mississippi River. And you have pyramids in Memphis, Egypt, and you got that pyramid down there in Memphis, Tennessee. That's just one example. All right. And Andrew Jackson, the Indian killer, he's an Edomite, by the way. He named it specifically that after that ancient Egypt. I like to use that as an example. But it says, Lo, thou trustest in the staff of this broken reed, right? Everybody is trusting and they have convenience. Everything's comfortable. Babylon the Great, Egypt is creating people, was created to make people comfortable, not uncomfortable. That's why at one point in time, you get a lot of stuff for $1.50, you know, a lot of things for $3. But now all that's changing because it's a broken reed. All right, inflation has caused the same way Egypt fell, ancient Rome fell, America is falling right now. It says, whereon if a man lean, and it will go into his hand and pierce it. So Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, to all that trust in him, right? Because everybody in this place, whether we like it or not, we are servants of Egypt. But now if you lean on it, all right, it said it'll even go into your hand metaphorically, but it's actually going to happen where they're going to pierce it. Let's look up pierce it. All right, what's this say on this side? O Egypt, if you lean on Egypt, it will be like a reed that splinters beneath your weight and pierces your hand. Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, is completely unreliable. And he is. Look at Trump. He's the current Pharaoh of Egypt. All this deception he sowed. All right. Their counsels, that secret counsel of the wicked, that mob of evildoers, there's not hypocrisy. First, he was mad at all the illegals. Now you capturing their presidents. You know, you said that you care about so-called Black Christians in Nigeria. What about the ones here in America? This is a broken reed. You can't trust in this place. It says it will pierce it, which is naquab. It says to pierce, to bore. All right, bore. To prick off, designate, to pluck up, to designate, to curse, to blaspheme. But the main one I wanted to get was bore, because there are scriptures talk about that when you put the bore and put in what is a bore. What is a bore? Bore. Biblically speaking. And this all ties into that one direction. All right. Let's go back. Read that precept again. It says, biblically, bore often refers to an act of piercing or performing, such as when a master would bore a slave's ear to signify lifelong servitude. It can also relate to the concept of making a hole or penetrating, as it seen in various Old Testament references. And that's literally what this MOTB is in Revelation 13. All right, it's going to be a device that they want to put in you to become the ultimate slave to what? The beast. If you take this mark, that's why a lot of these guys are not standing on business now. You're going to be forced to. All right. So jump down. It says what? I'm going to jump to what could quickly accelerate this. What could quickly accelerate it? Trigger events. These are disruptive events that compress timelines. So number one, a major financial crisis. You know, we are not far from that. All the economists that are in the know, like your Gerald Celentes, all right, they've been saying that this place is supposed to fall a long time ago. All right, what's that in Zechariah? How the inhabitants of Maktesh, or is it Zephaniah? That's Zephaniah 1. Bank runs, currency instability. That's where we're at right now. Payment network failures. We've seen glitches. Look at the Silicon Valley thing. People couldn't get their money out. All right, Amazon went down. Google went down for a time. There's all these constant glitches. Government centralized identity plus payment controls fast. So all this could lead to also what? A massive identity theft or cyber attack. Too many glitches. What if the glitch is too long? Well, then maybe it's labeled a cyber attack. These are things that we could look out for that pushes into that one direction, forcing your digital ID, which 19 states are on board with it, for your mobile ID that you can use at TSAs, converted over to what? Biometrics. Now you're not only showing your ID, no, your ID is tied to your wallet. That's just the next step. All right. But it can become biometric. No, we need more than just your phone. You know, we need you. That's why they're gonna put that bore on you. Massive identity theft or cyber attack, breach of passwords, social security numbers at scale. Passwords are dead narrative, right? See, the passwords are dead narrative. That will start being pushed, So that's something to look out for. No longer dealing with passwords, you are the password, right? Biometric ID pushed urgently. Or the third thing, all right? National security or terror event. And we see that a false flag is definitely on the horizon, especially with the way nations are now being shifted. The Lord made a heavy chess move in the last couple of weeks with the whole capturing of Taiwan and things ramping up in Ukraine, and Trump snatching the president. They're telling us, kidnapping the president of Venezuela. So there's a constant national security threat. That's why the whole rolling out of ICE agents. I mean, look what just happened with Vice President Vance in his home. All right. So there's a lot of so-called TERROR events that are going to be false flag or organically created. But either way, these things could quickly accelerate. All right. The MOTB coming. A pandemic or public health emergency, because remember, your digital ID, that can easily be tied to your health records. So they might have to do another Operation Warp Speed. Contactless, everything, proof of status requirements, digital credentials normalized. So we saw this back in 2020. All right. And another thing that quickly could accelerate, going from digital IDs to biometric being tied to it. All right. All being co-located in one place. The collapse of trust in existing institutions, push for secure, unified, verifiable identity. Right, the Tower of Babel all over again. Unification, everything being housed in one place. That's why you see the money already moving there with stablecoin and with the CBDCs push. Centralization is framed as stability. Key constraints that slow this, just a few things, but nothing's going to stop it. So bottom line, it says technically, yes, the progression is feasible and largely incremental. Politically, it's constrained by law, culture, and public trust. Well, when all this is taken away with, all you have is government and totalitarianism. So it doesn't matter if there's law, if there's culture, or if there's public trust. It says the devil's going to come down with great wrath. All right, let me find that scripture. I think it was how ye inhabitants of Maktesh. I think it's Zephaniah 1. Okay, maybe it's not. If a brother could post that scripture. There's a Zechariah. No. Here we go, right here. Zephaniah 1:11 says, how ye inhabitants of Maktesh, for all the merchant people are cut down. All they that bear silver are cut off. So this is talking about an economic collapse. Look at this. Wail and sorrow, all you who live in the market area, for all the merchants and traders will be destroyed. And you see that, you read that with Revelation 11, which is, 18, which is really after the destruction. All right. We're seeing, because this also links up with James, the 5th chapter. I'm not going to go to these precepts because the main ones I kind of brought out already. But just to show the direction that we're heading in. And this is prophecy. All right, Maktesh, let's click on Maktesh. Because Maktesh represents a port city, because usually when the fish are coming in and out, that's where a lot of exchanges happening. You're weighing out the fish, whatever you have to pay in silver, gold, or bartering in. It says a hollow or valley, evidently in Greater Jerusalem. All right, Maktesh represents a marketplace. Maktash, looks like Maktash. All right, so that was Zephaniah 1 and 11. Now let's go back here real quick. It says socially, the bottom line, adoption depends on perceived benefit versus perceived control. Crucially, no step requires the next. Each one introduces new resistance. So that's why this man's going to have to mandate this thing eventually. All right. Now, I put, it said map, it said, you get, chat always asks if you want to do certain things. So it said map where different countries currently sit on this path, but I put map where different countries and states in the U.S. sit on this path. So some of the countries that are already doing this are Estonia. Says they're fully digital in daily life with public services and banking. All right, and the brother from Yaikwab, he was saying that I forget which, from Germany, he was just here. I forget which country he said traveling into. I think it was Holland. They're fully digital with their currency. They don't have any cash. All right, they don't have any cash with their currencies in Holland. You have to have digital currency to perform transactions there, but it's not linked with your ID yet. But in Sweden, it says bank ID, widely used, nearly universal digital ID tied to banking services, used for payments and authentication. All right. Singapore, India, China, Costa Rica, UAE, countries still expanding or standardizing digital IDs, Denmark, Spain, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, many others worldwide, Africa and Middle East. Several nations are implementing large-scale digital ID programs that include biometric data and in some cases enable banking access. So Nigeria, they expanded biometric systems tied to banking authentication. It gives you an article. Then you got Kenya, the Namba digital ID services as a broad identifier for services potentially including banking, which there are, if I'm not mistaken, they're attaching digital IDs to all the newborns in Kenya now. All right. Which is, you see the beast making moves. I think the Elder Apostle Hard did a video calling the MOTB might start in Kenya or something like that. So we're seeing the buildup of this stuff. And again, it's heading in one prophetic direction. All right, let's go to that prophetic direction. We're going to keep bringing out these same things. Know at first that Great Millstone, we never changed the doctrine. We just bringing out the articles to show you where we're at in the stages of it as far as gradually being implemented, because eventually it's going to be mandated. It says summary, and look, it's not happening now. Don't expect it to happen right now, but it will happen in the future. That's the whole point of prophesying and declaring this as prophecy. The vision is yet for an appointed time. Though it tarry, wait for it, like it says in Habakkuk. So in summary, most advanced, in the United States, current state-by-state digital ID progress, there's no national ID yet, but a patchwork of state programs mainly tied to mobile driver's licenses and wallet-based digital IDs, often optional and separate for banking. States with digital ID, these allow residents to store state IDs digitally. You got Arizona, Colorado, California, Maryland, Ohio. So you got all these states. And it's widely accepted at TSA. Many of those are valid for identity. So that's how, that's why Trump was talking about people coming from other countries. He's going to start checking their social media going 5 years back, because everything's going to, as soon as you can pull up the digital ID, boom, they're going to be able to pull up everything about you. All right. All your media accounts that you use, your TikToks, even your dating platforms, different banks that you use, it's all going to be pulled up. Said states that are planning or committed. Yeah, so these states are about to be on board with it. It says banking and digital ID in the U.S., even in states with digital IDs, linkage to banking is minimal. Digital driver's license verify identity separately from bank account access. They're not yet used to authenticate banking logins or transactions as norm. So we're not there yet. All right, but it could easily be triggered. We read what could trigger it. All right, financial collapse, cyber attack, natural disaster, all right, disease warfare. Some companies already offer biometric logins and identity verification for banking apps, but these are company level features, not nationwide identity. Let's go down here real quick. Yeah, I put list banks that are actively seeking how to move toward biometric payments. And then the main one was Chase. All right, it said Chase Morgan is piloting a biometric payments process with face scan checkout technology in partnership with Pop ID at merchants like Whataburger. JP Morgan Payments is offering solutions to merchants that combine payment processing with biometric authentication. So I clicked on the article. So what's happening? It's just little by little. And JP Morgan is a major financial institution, which started with some of its first insurance policies for slaves. All right. Now let's just ask it here. All right, because this is pretty much it. JP Morgan directly benefit from slavery in America. Because all it is them, it's like full circle, all right? With JP Morgan anyways, because they some of their if I'm not mistaken, yes, JP Morgan has publicly acknowledged that some of its predecessors banks directly benefited from slavery in America, and they're about to directly benefit again. Here's the factual breakdown based on historical records and the bank's own documents. All right. They received approximately 13,000 enslaved individuals as a loan collateral between roughly 1831 and 1865. They acquired about 1,250 slave individuals when borrowers defaulted on their loans. Official recognition. See that? Anyways, JP Morgan fires up its biometric payments processing. All right, it says JP Morgan Chase is piloting biometric payments processes merchant wide, including Whataburger locations, where a partnership between the burger chain and Pop ID lets customers pay with a face scan, according to a Tuesday press release for the bank. So we're gradually getting there. All right, the biggest US, just like Amazon Fresh, you can walk into some Amazons in DC without even opening up your wallet. Just go and pick up what you want and walk out, or wave your hand if you have that thing in there, the chip. The biggest U.S. banks payments division is locking arms. So this is the biggest U.S. banks payments. And this ain't no small bank. It's J.P. Morgan locking arms with the biometrics payments for Pop ID, Firm ID, Pop ID, Slovakia Firm Pop ID to add merchants and spending up checkouts, speeding up checkouts and boosting customer tabs by way of the new technology. So it's convenience. All right. Pasadena, California. Pass Pop ID, which is owned by Cali Group, provides biometric payment services at some 380 U.S. retailers, restaurants, according to release. So it's going down. All right, San Antonio, Texas-based Whataburger has 1,000+ locations across 16 states. It doesn't yet use the new facial scan technology at all its venues, but hey, we're there. Again, the video is called what? One prophetic direction. All right, sometimes these prophecies, they take a little while. And this is where we're at with it, in the U.S. anyway. See, globally, they gave the examples. All right, Nigeria is already there. You got a lot of countries that are already linking, all right, their digital ID with biometrics, like in Estonia, India, parts of the EU. But it shows you that it's whether it's fragmented, it's growing in some places, all right, but the demand is high in some. All right, and this is where Esau is going to be doing his testing, his stress tests in some of these other countries. But eventually, something's quickly going to trigger it. All right, and we went over that. Could be a number of things. All right. Revelation 13. I'm going to end it here. 15. It says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. All right. The Roman Empire eventually will ultimately come back and gain power again and dominate the whole earth, because the old ancient Rome, they only dominated the known world. All right. They didn't have control of the Western Hemisphere. It's in these times that they have it, with the NATO and the EU, those alliances that they made. All right. that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many would not worship the image, right? So for you now, you have to comply. Remember the beast would want full compliance. When we read it, it would need full compliance, and that's what's going to happen. Then the many would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. All right, and it talks about the different resistances that would come along. Esau knows how to deal with resistance very well, with this blessing, which is the sword. And he causeth all gradualism, but eventually mandated both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And that's what we're talking about. All right. That's the one direction we're headed to. That eventually this thing, digital IDs, mobile driver's license, eventually it's going to be mandated that not only you prove who you are to make a payment, but that thing has to be inside of you. All right. Because again, eventually they're going to say, no, we don't want the phone anymore. Our system's not going to allow that, or we're just not going to allow that. You know, a lot of different rules are being made up in different states when that whole video rolled out. Some restaurants and stores were requiring certain things versus other ones, and they were getting in trouble for it when it was found it out. But it's going to be unified. No, you can't go to the gym unless you got the chip. You can't get food unless you got the chip. You can't leave your 15-minute city unless you have the chip. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're homeless, you can't get this free housing if you don't have the chip. All right. If you're an NW, all right, if you're a so-called Negro, Latino, Native American woman who's out here, you had multiple women, multiple men, multiple baby daddies, you're gonna comply. All right. When they're dangling that gift or those victuals, like the scriptures refer to as victuals, shall become so good cheap. I want to be surprised if this man tries to gradually or try to mandate it at that point, because he's going to try and get a lot of people chipped up all at once, and then the Lord's going to make his move, and it's going to be in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that's literal. All right, that is literal. All right, but that's pretty much it. Just want to bring that update here with Kentucky and the other 19 states. They're basically getting the mobile IDs for your driver's license going. Keep looking for this to develop into being linked with banking institutions. And as you can see, what JP Morgan, this is just a year ago. All right. So that means, you know, it's even more, we could probably find an update on this. All right. And it's probably accelerated into other chains or testing in different markets, if you will. You know, who might be at a Home Depot or something like that, or a Lowe's, where they're going to start trying to implement this Amazon Fresh type payments, where it's like retina scans and facial scans. All right, but keep fasting and praying. Lord willing, you were edified, you were warned through the power and spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. I'm going to say shalom to the hopeful elect, and double honors to our elders and apostles at Great Millstone, and all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kahakodash, shalom.